call this meeting to order. It's Scotch Plains Family Board of Education, regular public meeting, March 28th. Mrs. Saragaki, will you please come along?
Mrs. Fowler?
Here.
Mrs. Coleman?
Here.
Dr. Clancy?
Here.
Mrs. Soriani?
Here.
Dr. Bulikowski?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mrs. Saragaki. Will you please join me in the salute to the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wonderful to see such a nice full audience. So before we came out in public, we had our executive session. We discussed some issues that are not usually discussed in public, such as personnel issues, suspension and detention report, special education update, the HIB report, legal status report, negotiations update, and some special ed settlements. We have an addition to the agenda, 1 BUS, staff training, 9 BUS, high school synthetic track replacement bid award, 16 BUS, special education settlement agreements, 17 BUS, change order for the Scotch Plains Taylor High School HVAC project. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings in public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Board of Education offices located at Cedar Street and Evergreen Avenue, Scotch Plains, New Jersey. Such notice was also provided in written notice and forwarded to the Times, the Township Clerk of Scotch Plains, and the Borough Clerk of Fanwood in the annual notice of regularly scheduled meetings as adopted March 29, 2018. At this time, we'll go to our instructional update.
Thank you, Dr. Bulikowski. Tonight it is my pleasure to welcome all of you as we recognize our 2018-2019 PTA Reflection Program winners. We will also be honoring Coach Rich McGriff, who has been named NewJersey.com Coach of the Year for winter track. So we're going to get started with the younger students first. Our 2018-19 PTA Reflection Program winners were recognized at the Union County PTA Founders Day dinner. Tonight you will hear about their wide range of artistic accomplishments. In all, we had 10 Union County winners, and another 4 students won both at the county level and received state recognition. In addition, we had 4 students who won at the Union County level and who received an award of excellence at the state level and are now moving on to the national level competition. My sincere appreciation goes to the PTA leaders, our parents, our teachers who support our students in this program. And so what we're going to do tonight is the board has a resolution that they will read in stages so that we can appropriately recognize each child. So when your child's name is called, please have your child come up to the center. They will be receiving a certificate, and we want them to stand up here so we have lots of photo ops. Very important. Okay, so with that, Mrs. Siriani and Mrs. Clancy are going to do our first group.
Whereas the PTA Reflections Program is a nationally acclaimed student recognition program established by the National PTA, designed to encourage students in grades K-12 to explore their talents and express themselves artistically by creating works of art. And whereas 2018-19 marks the 50th anniversary of the PTA Reflections Program, this year's theme was Heroes Around Me, whereby students in kindergarten through 12th grade submitted their interpretation of the theme in 6 artistic areas, including dance choreography, film production, literature, music composition, photography, and visual arts. And whereas the Scotch Plains Family Parent-Teacher Association, under the leadership of the PTA Council President Regina Gannon, continues to enthusiastically participate in the National PTA Reflection Program. And whereas this year we had 18 Scotch Plains Family students' creative work selected by the Union County PTA to move on to the state level competition. And of these, 8 creative entries received recognition at the state level. And whereas 10 Scotch Plains Family students received a certificate of participation from the Union County PTA for their creative entries. Okay, now's the time where you get called up. The following 10 students were county winners. Following 3 students are from Coles Elementary School. Cameron McMahon, a first grade student, received recognition from the Union County PTA for his visual arts entry entitled Heroes Helping.
Come up when your name is called.
Okay. Charlotte Smith, a first grade student, received recognition from the Union County PTA for her literary entry entitled Heroes Everywhere. Charlotte. Colin Flood, a 4th grade student, received recognition from the Union County PTA for his film production entry entitled The Robbery. Is from McGinn Elementary School. Matthew Bonder, a 4th grade student, received recognition from the Union County PTA for his music entry entitled Unsung Hero. School, the Union County PTA recognized Joel Perez, a 3rd grade student, for his visual arts entry entitled Heroes in Our Own Backyard. The following 2 students are from Park Middle School. Haley Kaplan, a 5th grade student, received recognition from the Union County PTA for her literary entry entitled My Parents. A 7th grade student, received recognition from the Union County PTA for her music entry entitled The Heroes That I See. This is the 2nd year that one of Sana's creative entries has been recognized by the county. 3 students are from the Scotch Plains Family High School. Ryan Eng, a 10th grade student, received recognition from the Union County PTA for his literary entry entitled My Heroes. Also a 10th grade student, received recognition from the Union County PTA for her literary entry entitled Living Proof. This is the 3rd year that one of Erica's creative entries has been recognized by the county. Catherine Buren, an 11th grade student, received recognition from the Union County PTA for her literary entry entitled Forgotten Memories.
And now we're going to have Amy Boroff and Nancy Bauer present the next group of awards. And you guys stay up here.
The following 4 students won at the county level and also received state level recognition. Honorable Mention Award, Bella Lynn, a 3rd grade student at McGinn Elementary School. Bella received an honorable mention award from the state PTA for her dance entry entitled Something Just Like This. Sophie McMeekin, a 5th grade student. Grade students from Park Middle School received an honorable mention award from the state PTA for her film production entry entitled Heroes Around Me, Fire Prevention Week with the Mountainside Fire Department. Award of Merit. Michaela Rose Snare, a kindergartner student at School One Elementary School, received an Award of Merit Michaela received an award of merit from the state PTA for her dance entry entitled Heroes Who Let You Fall on Them. Rick Denizio. Student from Scotch Plains Fanwood High School received an award of merit from the state PTA for his film production entry entitled Sandwich Cup. The following 4 students won at the county level and received the award of excellence at the state level and are now moving on to the national level. Lily Gallagher. Is a 3rd grade student at J. Coles Elementary School, received an award of excellence from the state PTA for her film production entitled Our Town is Full of Heroes. Aditi Gokal. Aditi is a 4th grade student at Coles Elementary School and received an award of excellence from the state PTA for her literary entry entitled The Unseen Heroes. This is the 3rd year that one of Aditi's creative entries has received recognition. Isabel Bruce. A 6th grade student from Park Middle School received an award of excellence from the state PTA for her music entry entitled Hero. This is the 3rd year that one of Isabel's creative entries has received recognition. Grayson Kelly. A 6th grade student from Park Middle School, and she received an award of excellence from the state PTA for her film production entry entitled My Parents. Whereas we are proud of all of these students for participating in the 2018-19 PTA Reflections program. It is an honor to have the creative works of 10 students selected for recognition by the Union County PTA from the hundreds of submissions. In addition to winning at the Union County level, it is truly an honor to have 4 additional students receive recognition at the state level. Finally, we are proud to have 4 additional students' creative entries win at the Union County state level and will now complete at the national level. We offer our best wishes to all of these students. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Fanwood Board of Education extends its sincere congratulations to 18 students and extends best wishes for their continued success.
Go ahead.
I'm Shane Gardner.
They were on a chair over there. Yeah, you're welcome.
Sweet. Rick, congratulations, Rick.
Different second.
Second?
All those in favor?
Thank you.
Say no to that.
We have one additional student presentation tonight, and I'd like to welcome Matthew Risco, our 7th grade social studies teacher, to the mic. And he has some very special students to introduce, and they are going to do a brief presentation related to their service learning project. So welcome.
Thank you. So every year, the 7th grade curriculum has the students partaking in a project experience called the Service Learning Project. Basically, the idea of the project is that students are taking a topic, something that is impacting their world, either at the local level, the statewide level, the national level, or even worldwide. This year, one group of students has decided to take a closer look at this so-called, as they would probably say, debate about vaccinations. And so they have some opinions about this topic that they would like to share with the board. So I'd like to call up Grace and Spencer and Rebecca and Emma and Julia.
As of 1 week ago, on March 21st, there were 314 documented cases of measles in the U.S., which is alarming considering that there were 374 cases last year, and considering measles was considered eradicated in North America in 2010. And yet, just last month, Texas State Representative Bill Zephyr introduced a bill for Texas that would make it easier for children to attend public schools without vaccination. When asked why do you support this bill, he said, "They want to say people are dying measles. Yeah, in third world countries, they're dying measles. Today, antibiotics and that kind of stuff, they're not dying in America." Not only is this statement scientifically inaccurate, concerning antibiotics or cure viruses, it's incredibly problematic for Americans' health and welfare. We recognize that it's our responsibility to inform you through the Board of Education that we feel all students attending SPF school should get vaccinated and that we support our district's required vaccine policy.
As a part of our service learning project, we chose to learn about the so-called debates surrounding vaccines. In the process, we've learned a lot about vaccines, viruses, and laws. For instance, we've learned that vaccines are a way to build up your body defense against different kinds of viruses. Unlike some government representatives, we've learned that there is a difference between viruses and bacteria, and that the antibiotics are not an effective treatment for viruses. While in the past, people were infected with all sorts of different viruses, in the modern day, thanks to scientists developed like vaccines, humans have developed what's called a herd immunity. This means that as long as 95% or more of the human population is vaccinated, it makes it much more difficult for vaccines to spread. Unfortunately, we've also learned that a growing number of people believe that vaccines cause problems, even though the information they're using is incorrect.
As more and more people begin to listen to scientifically inaccurate information and choose not to vaccinate their children, they're lowering our population's herd immunity. As a result, it's unfortunately not a surprise that as more people choose to ignore the science and refuse to get vaccinated, more people are able to become infected. This is why we've already got more than 300 cases of measles in the U.S. lately. What's more, as more people begin to spread their false information, they're beginning to use their power to scare government officials into thinking that vaccines are bad when they're not. In 20 different states, bills have been introduced that would expand non-medical exemptions for vaccinations, meaning our American herd immunity is being reduced. After hearing that there was a measles outbreak in Rockland County, New York, it's scary to realize that Pennsylvania is one of those states to have introduced an anti-vax bill.
All of this led to more vaccinations law were and whether or not the SPF school districts had a policy. We interviewed our school nurse to learn more, and we were relieved to find that New Jersey does in fact require vaccines for those who attend public school, and that the SPF district enforces these laws. Considering it's a statewide rule, we recognize that it's highly unlikely that we become infected with one of these diseases. With our research, we're pretty confident that the SPF school district is doing their best to keep its students safe and healthy. That being said, given the growing numbers of the state-level bills that could weaken the law's requirements, we believe that it may not be in the district's interest to promote vaccines awareness in our health crisis so that we can hopefully put an end to this misinformation that is helping the anti-vax movement. In order to combat the misinformation that to have a healthier future, we should learn how and why vaccines work.
I would like to thank the district for following and enforcing New Jersey's vaccination laws. We hope that we've informed and reminded people of the importance of being vaccinated. Only by working together and emphasizing scientific facts can we inform the community about this growing issue and spread awareness of the truth that vaccines are an important scientific development that have helped protect and promote the health and well-being of the community. Thank you very much for giving us the time to present.
Turn around so we can take a picture. Sounds great. And can we have Mr. Risto come up here and take a picture? And girls, someone will have something to watch. Turn it over to the board. Do you have
Actually, but I just have a comment. I want to thank you for your well thought out argument. It was very informative, and I know it's not easy to stand up there, especially in front of a whole room of people. So thank you for coming and enlightening us. I think we all learned a lot from your argument. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any?
No, I would echo what Stephanie was saying. That I really appreciate you taking the time out to explain this to us, and I really give you guys a lot of credit. That was a great presentation. You guys did a tremendous job, and you should be really proud of yourselves.
I was just curious how you chose your topic.
Well, we wanted to do something with health, and we kind of wanted to do something that's like more recent. And so when we heard about the measles outbreak, we thought it'd be cool to inform people about it.
And was there anything that surprised you when you were doing your research?
Well, for me, I was surprised at how many cases there were and how much is spreading because people don't have vaccines.
Well, thank you very much for sharing with us. Like Mrs. Sirianni said, it's hard to come speak in front of. You had a big group to speak in front of tonight, so thank you.
I would like Rich McGriff to come forward. Has a resolution to read in honor of Mr. Coach McGriff.
Whereas Rich McGriff is an alumnus of the LeGrand School, Park Junior High, and the Scotch Plains Fanwood High School class of 1984. Whereas high school student Rich was a member of the track and field team. He specialized in hurdles and high jump, and ultimately winning the Union County Championship in the high jump. And whereas Rich began his coaching career at the Scotch Plains Fanwood High School over 25 years ago, starting as a volunteer assistant coach when his younger siblings were on the team, then officially becoming an assistant coach and presently head coach of the track team. And whereas Rich's coaching specialties are hurdles, high jump, and the triple jump, he has also coached sprints and long jump. Rich has coached thousands of young men and women who have come through Scotch Plains Fanwood High School, including his son Aaron, class of 2016. And whereas under Coach McGriff's track expertise, the 2018-2019 Varsity Boys Winter Track Team achieved success at the level never before achieved in the history of Scotch Plains Fanwood High School. They won the NJSIAA Group 3 State Relay Championship, the NJSIAA North 2 Group 3 State Sectional Championship, and the NJSIAA Group 3 State Championship, completing what is known as the Triple Crown, winning all 3 possible championships in the Winter State Meet Series. And whereas Coach Rich McGriff humbly credits his staff and his students for these outstanding accomplishments, yet notably, all who work with Rich recognize his ability to motivate, inspire, and lead with great integrity. Whereas all of these accomplishments led to Coach Rich McGriff being named the 2018-2019 NJ.com Boys Winter Track Coach of the Year. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Fanwood Board of Education recognizes and congratulates Coach Rich McGriff for being named the Boys Indoor Track Coach of the Year 2018-2019 and wishes him continued success in all future endeavors. Congratulations.
I'd like to thank the board for the opportunity all these years to be able to do that, and the district and the town. Obviously, I love it, and that's why I'm here. But this award was an individual award, but it truly is a fact that the team, my fellow coaches, foreman here, there, Coach Doherty, Coach Neidig, Coach Hernandez, and for me, most importantly, Coach Cagle. People don't know that we worked together for 20-something years, and the amount of work that he does that allows me to do the things that I want to do and to do what I'm best at. So if I did something that was above or beyond, it's because those people there helped me do that. They allow me to do what I do best. They do what they do best. The athletes do what they do best, and hopefully the team gets to that level that it should be at. So, but thank you all for everything. Thank the administration, Dr. Heisey, Mr. Miller, for giving the opportunity this year to take the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up with Dr. Heisey and Mr. Miller, we'd like to take a photo and really recognize you as well. I knew that Richard was going to give all the credit to everybody else, because that's just how humble he is. But we really want to let you know, Coach McGriff, how proud we are of you as well. And the support that you get from everybody is wonderful. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Well, now at this point in time, we know that we have some younger students out in the audience, and they do have school tomorrow. And there are some refreshments out in the outer hallway. So if anybody feels that they really don't want to stay for the rest of our meeting, as exciting as it might be, it's really all about business stuff and scores on the New Jersey Performance Report and other things that you may or may not be thrilled to hear. So we will not take offense if any of you decide that this might be an appropriate time to move on. So
tonight I'm going to give a brief overview of the New Jersey Performance Report. Earlier in the year, I gave the district testing report that looks at it through an entirely different lens. But here you will see in the first two columns the scores of our schools based on the percentage passing or exceeding the part in English language arts and math. In the boxes where you see that the scores are green, it means that our scores fell in the range of passing. And passing meaning the New Jersey expectation. In the case where you see that they're blue, that means that we met the goal, which was a slightly higher band of performance. In some cases, if you look at the growth, which are the second two columns, the growth scores are actually how students improve based on peers that they're grouped with. And then those numbers represent a median score for each school. So it's easiest to think that that's just representing how much students grow with students who have a similar scoring history on the test. Other things regarding the test that goes into an overall score is absenteeism, and if you can see the numbers that we have in the column for absenteeism, it appears that our students, when they're well, would like to come to school because our attendance looks quite good. And then for the high school, another important number is our graduation rate. So these scores Dr. Hayes posts on the website. Each school has an individual report which is customized for the school. It speaks to what makes each school a little bit special, and they're worth taking a look at. Additionally, the performance gives us a way to, another opportunity to reflect on continuous growth as related to the PARC results. So in speaking to our principals, what they felt in reflection was that our work in pacing guides in mathematics and in language arts is helpful. So sometimes when we do an item analysis on the test, we might recognize that we need to shift things around in sequence, and in so doing this year, some of our scores went up. We also felt that our ongoing work in Writers' Workshop, particularly at the elementary school, has been helpful work in places where our PARC scores have increased. Another area was we are continuously using the Chromebooks more at the elementary level, and in that case, the increased use of Chromebooks for writing, this allows for easier editing and revisions, as well as methods for teachers to give feedback. It also helps the students be more comfortable when they're taking a standardized test that requires them to write using the computer. An additional area that we're always looking at is how our subgroups are doing, and that really helps us to customize individual help that we need to give to students. Our math growth continues. We notice that there is continued support that is needed in providing instruction for explaining the problem-solving strategies used in finding alternative strategies to solve problems, which means that every math test is also a reading test, and it's important that students are able to take those
those things apart. But overall, when we look at our scores this way, if you can see them, we will post this particular sheet on the website if you want to take a closer look. It's no surprise that we are certainly scoring as well, and in most cases better than many schools in the state. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mass, for putting all that information into a nice, concise chart. I like the color coding. Does anybody have any other questions or comments for Dr. Mass?
I have a question. Thank you for that. And can you tell us again, the growth score is students compared to students in their own grade and school, or is it statewide?
It's statewide and it's longitudinal. So for a fourth grader, they would be compared to students who have scored similar to them in third grade to see how much they then grow in fourth grade.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
No, I just want to thank Dr. Mass for her analysis of our work in terms of reducing it down to a really cogent way for us to understand it. Not only helps us, but it also supports all of the teachers and the administrators who need to always work to keep that student growth projectile going forward. Occasionally we'll get questions about when they do summary scores, and it's important to note the role that the growth scores has, because it does not mean if a school does not have a high growth score that it's necessarily not achieving well. Because if their score in the previous year was quite high, it limits how much growth they can make. So we don't want anybody to think that the sky is falling. All of our schools are doing well on these assessments. At the high schools, some of the scores are also impacted by participation rates. And we do know that there has been some controversy in the past over whether or not students should sit for some of these exams. So in some cases, we also have to reflect on that as well. But generally, we're really thankful for the good work that the teachers put into work every day with kids in their classrooms, because that's how the kids move forward. And we can all be proud of what we've accomplished. So thank you. And thank you to all of you who are here representing our kids. And we got a lot of teachers in the audience. We appreciate it.
Okay. In accordance with Scotch Plains Fairwood Public Schools bylaws 0164 and 0165, the meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comments. Maximum of 2 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing the superintendent items, business functions, and other board business will be heard first. If time remains, speakers may address other matters. When you come to the podium, please state your name and the town in which you reside.
Good evening. Jennifer Ryan, Scotch Plains. My family's lived in Scotch Plains for about 30 years now. This is a letter that I wrote to the board last year in June. My name is Jennifer Ryan. I'm finishing up my 11th year as a special education teacher at Park Middle School. I've been teaching for a total of 23 years at various schools in New York and New Jersey. I really believe I was born to be a teacher. Both my parents were teachers, one in Plainfield, New Jersey, the other in New York City. Both are currently retired after teaching 26 and 30 years respectively. Seeing how much they loved what they did, I wanted to follow in their footsteps. I still love coming to work. I love the kids that I teach, the teachers that I work with. I've made the right career decision. I left a tenured position in West Orange to teach in Scotch Plains with a pay cut of more than $10,000 because I wanted to be closer to my daughter and have an easier commute. I signed a contract that included health care, coverage for my family. I knew the value of that benefit. If you didn't already know, the main reason teachers accept lower salaries throughout their careers, health benefits. I'm writing to express my concerns regarding Chapter 78 and the effects that it's had on my family. I've watched my taxes increase, new taxes added to my already stretched budget. I wanted my daughter to go to school in Scotch Plains, so we found ways to cut back, just to survive. Governor Christie pushed Chapter 78 through, even after promising he would support teachers. I never expected it to pass. How can a contractual issue be changed without due process? How can the agreement that both the Board of Ed and I signed be changed so easily without negotiation? I was so wrong. The rug was pulled right out. To put things in perspective, my salary has changed very little, less than 4% in the last 8 years. I tutor, coach basketball, and work every summer. I mow my own lawn, shovel my own driveway, clean my own house. I work very hard to raise my daughter in this town. Chapter 78 has put a toll on my marriage and has pushed me to a point that I have my house on the market. Prior to my divorce in December, over $500 was taken out of my salary each pay period for a total of over $1,000 a month, $10,000 a year. $0 to $10,000 equals more than 10% of my contractual salary taken out. How are we surviving? Taking loans, using credit cards, getting help from family? How would you survive this kind of pay cut? Please consider the needs of your employees and settle this contract in a fair and timely manner. Most importantly, agree upon significant Chapter 78 relief. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Cheryl Conklin. I live in Scotch Plains. I have 3 kids in the district, a 10th grader, a 7th grader, and a 6th grader. I've been a homeowner and a taxpayer in Scotch Plains for 19 years, and I'm so embarrassed that our staff doesn't feel appreciated and that they have to march outside, and I'm appalled that we're allowing them to feel so unappreciated. You get what you pay for. And I feel sorry that they are not getting the recognition that they deserve and the help that they deserve. I teach in Millburn, and I know we're losing, Scotch Plains is losing great teachers to districts that are paying better. And I would hate to see any of these people leave, but I wouldn't blame them. Because Millburn pays a lot better. But I don't want you to leave, because my kids need to. And I'm really just embarrassed. You get what you pay for. Give them a fair contract. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jendela Santos, and I am in the unique position of being both an employee and parent. Sorry, Scotch Plains. In Scotch Plains, Vanwood School District. I serve as a classroom aide at Park Middle School, basically on the front line. My son is a 4th grader at Evergreen, and in a short 84 days, he will be graduating and be considered a part of the Park Middle School population. I've had the sincere privilege of working at Park for nearly 4 years now. I've been dazzled and excited about what I see going on in the classrooms. Don't get me wrong, every day is not perfect. But as a whole, my experience has been nothing short of amazing. I get to work with some pretty serious superstars after all, the Park Middle School teachers. They work their butts off every day, and they try to make learning fun by implementing games, media, and modern education techniques to get the curriculum to our children in completely innovative ways. The growth and improvement in some of the children is breathtaking. There is no doubt in my mind that the teachers of our district deserve to have a fair contract settled on their behalf. One that more than compensates for the state-mandated health care cost schedule, but in fact provides them with an actual raise that is benchmarked against comparable school districts. As a resident of Scotch Plains, I am embarrassed also that they have not been provided with the dignity and security of a settled contract. I want my child to actually have as good of an education as the ones that have gone before him, and I am afraid that may not happen if our town continues to ignore our teachers' very reasonable needs. I know I am not the only parent that feels this way in town. There are actually a whole bunch of us constituents that are displeased with the way things are going down right now. And I'm telling you here today that we need our teachers to be treated with respect that they deserve, not a month from now, not at the beginning of next school year, but right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak?
Hi, I'm Elaine Edmonds. I live in Scotch Plains. Thank you. I just want to... Edmonds. Yes, Edmonds. I just want to say I know everyone in this room is dedicated to our students. I know that you all work hard and you volunteerism and you have so many programs and things for our district that we're proud of. But I don't know where we'd be without the teachers that we have. They're incredible, and I think they deserve a fair contract, and I believe that we can all work together to help them just get what they deserve. The stories I've heard about teachers making less money than they were 9 years ago is heartbreaking to me. They're so dedicated, and I just urge you to come to a fair deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the board? Okay, you'll have another opportunity later in the meeting. I'll close that session of the meeting and move on to the committee reports. Does anybody have a committee report?
I'll just give an update on negotiations. We were scheduled to meet with the mediator and SPFBOE on March 20th. The mediator had a serious family emergency and had to cancel, and that meeting is now scheduled for April 9th. And as we stated at the last meeting, we're hopeful with the mediator's assistance we can reach an agreement at that time.
Thank you, Mrs. Bennett. Committee
Yeah, policy met. And yes, I have a report. Do you want me to?
Sure.
Thank you. So policy met, and we reviewed a large list of policies, so I'll try to make this brief and as concise as possible. The health and phys ed policy, health and physical education policy has been revised. The revisions were largely to reflect state code in terms of all the topics that have to be covered under PE. The policy by being written the way it is will not have to be changed each time the state changes, for example, wording in a New Jersey learning standard, because by referencing the state statute that covers these content areas, those statutes don't change very often, and so the policy is updated and reflects current expectations by the State Department of Ed. Simultaneously, we will be abolishing policy 2425 because the new policy 2422 covers both health and physical education, whereas 2425 was just physical education. Policy 2431, point 3, deals with practice and preseason heat acclimation for school-sponsored athletics and extracurricular activities. This is a recommended policy that guides our coaches and co-curricular advisors relative to ensuring that kids, as they are getting ready for their seasons, if it's very warm out, are following accepted protocols in terms of not getting overheated. Our district has chosen to follow the protocols that are published by the New Jersey Interscholastic Association, which I NJSIAA, and they're currently being reviewed by our school physician to be sure that he agrees that those are the protocols that we should use. So this policy would put that practice into place. Educational Program Evaluation 2610 simply clarifies that in terms of evaluating students and our curricular programs, we need to use more than one set of metrics. We can't just use one single test score, which is wise, because we know kids learn in many ways, and so we will be continuing to use multiple measures, as we do now. The CD policy 4219, the commercial driver's license, controlled substance and alcohol use testing, was updated primarily to reflect changes in federal agencies governing the regulations and to update testing protocols and some language changes that simply change the word individual to employee, driver. So these are not huge changes, but it does bring our policy into current line with federal regulations. Policy 511 and Reg 511 deal with the eligibility of resident and non-resident students. And in this case, the policy deals with district's option to accept students that might apply from a foreign country to attend our school based upon using an F1 visa. Schools can determine whether or not they wish to accept students on an F1 visa. If you do, you must charge them tuition. Our district currently is not accepting students using F1 visas, primarily because our understanding is that our schools would have to be approved through the Homeland Security. And we have not gone through that process. And at this time, therefore, where our policy simply reflects our current practice. Policy 5337 is a new policy for Scotch Plains families, and it deals with service animals. On occasion, there are students that benefit from using a service animal, and this policy will guide us in that process should that need occur. It is related, however, to students needing to have that through an IEP and or a 504 plan. It's not just across the board anybody that wants one, correct?
I don't like to do this, but yeah, actually this is great. So you don't actually need to have a 504 or an IEP in order to be able to have a service animal.
So what would
typically they would have a health plan or a 504 because of some related issue. Typically you don't need a service animal unless you have an underlying disability and are therefore eligible. But under federal law, you don't have to have, but typically you would find a student that has a service animal already has a 504 or an IEP.
Okay, we appreciate that clarification. The policy has been reviewed by our attorney, and it does reflect those pieces. Transgender student policy 5756, transgender students policy was revised to reflect guidance from the New Jersey Department of Education that was published earlier this year. And our policy now is in compliance with those expectations. And the last policy in this grouping has to do with school district security. It's policy 7440 and Reg 7440. And that policy simply reflects the fact that when the State Department put in a requirement that every school district appoint a specific person to be a school safety specialist, in their initial guidance, that person had to be an employee of the district, right? Or who was certificated. Yes. And now, a certificated administrator. And now the state has revised its guidance in this area to permit the superintendent to designate a school employee with expertise in school safety and security who is not necessarily a certificated administrator. Our school safety security specialist will remain Mrs. Sardaki, however, because she's doing great work in that area. The last group of policies that needed to be revised are being revised primarily because of either code changes, which means that the statute name has changed and been updated, and mostly because New Jersey has now adopted a new process for collecting data on infractions relative to violence, vandalism, bullying, etc. And that new system is called the Student Safety Data System, the SSDS, and it replaces the electronic violence and vandalism reporting system. And so we needed to update a whole series of policies relative to that change in nomenclature. So this would include the following. Policy 2415.06, unsafe school choice option. Regulation 2460.8, special education, free and appropriate education. Regulation 5530, substance abuse. Policy and reg, student discipline code of conduct, that's policy and reg 5600. Policy and reg 5611, removal of students for firearms offenses. Policy and reg 5612, assaults on district board of education members or employees. Policy and reg 5613, removal of students for assaults with weapons offenses. And policy 8461, reporting violence, vandalism, harassment, intimidation, bullying, alcohol, and other drug offenses. So those did not require substantive changes other than the citation updates as well as the change from EBVRS to SSDS. These policies are all recommended for first reading tonight. They will be on for second reading, the second meeting in April. So if anybody has any comments, concerns, or recommendations relative to changing, we have the whole month to make those changes.
Is there a way to see the highlighted changes on the ones that are major?
Not the... We've described it in the report that we've given to you. A couple of them were complete rewrites, so it's not easy to just simply see track changes. But if you wish to, in my office, I do have some copies of track changes versions. So if there are particular ones you're interested in, we can review them.
Thank you, Dr. Hayes. There being no more reports, then we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Whereas tonight, I would ask that the board approve the out-of-district placements that are listed on the agenda. We have case number 18-25, and that's the only one. Thank you.
Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Any noes? Motion carries.
Thank you. 2S, I would ask that the board affirm the superintendent's decisions in the 2 harassment, intimidation, and bullying cases that were reported in executive session on March 14, 2019. In this case, neither of these cases were determined to be hid.
Have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion, questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Any noes? Motion carries.
Thank you. 3S, tonight I would ask that the board approve the following field trips. Terra Middle School students connected to the Student Council in grades 6, 7, and 8 are going to travel to the Amazing Escape Room in Greenbrook, New Jersey, where they will be doing team building, problem solving, and collaboration skills. And also Terra Middle School 8th grade students in the 8th grade chorus will be attending Stephen Sondheim's theater to see Beautiful, the Carole King musical.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? No noes? No. Motion carries.
Thank you. We took action on 4S, the creative summer workshops at our last meeting, as well as the CUSAC monitoring report. So that brings us to 6S. Tonight I would ask that the board approve the comprehensive equity team for 2019. Every 3 years, the district is required to review its comprehensive equity plan to determine areas where we are in compliance or areas where we may need to do corrective action. And this process requires that the board approve the comprehensive equity planning affirmative action team, which will be comprised of the following people. Myself, Dr. Mast, Mr. Patuco, who's our Director of Human Resources, Mrs. Saradaki is Business Administrator, Ryan Miller as Athletic Director, David Heisey, High School Principal, Kevin Holloway, Middle School Principal, Colleen Hobart, Elementary Principal, Erin Molman, who represents the supervisor and has a specific role relative to gifted and talented, Lisa Rubimbus for Special Services, Candice Testa representing the SPFEA, Regina Gannon, a parent, Tanya Williams, board member, and Kaylin Franz, our anti-bullying coordinator.
Okay, could I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you. And I want to thank all of the people that volunteered to serve on that committee. Tonight, I would ask that the board approve the personnel agenda as reviewed in exec.
Can I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any questions? Mrs. Saradaki, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Bora?
Yes.
Mrs. Ballard?
Yes.
Dr. Clancy?
Yes.
Mrs. Suriani?
Yes.
Dr. Polakowski?
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Hayes. In accordance with Scotch Plains Family Public Schools Bylaw 0164-0165, the meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comments. The maximum 2 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing the superintendent items, business functions, and other board business will be heard first. If time remains, speakers may address other matters. When you come to the podium, please state your name and the town in which you reside. Seeing no one, we'll close this portion of the meeting and move on to business functions. Mrs. Saradaki.
Yes. 1BUS, I'm asking the board to approve the superintendent's recommendations for staff training reimbursements on the report dated March 28, 2019. 2BUS, I'm asking the board to acknowledge receipt of disbursement listings for various bank accounts for the month of February 2019. 3BUS, I'm asking the board to acknowledge receipt of the district school security and fire drill reports for the month of February 2019. 4, 5, and 6BUS were all approved at the March 14th meeting. 7BUS, I'm asking for the board to approve the transportation contract renewals with various transportation companies. The renewal rate this year was 1.45%. 8BUS was approved on the March 14th meeting. 9BUS, I'm asking the board to approve the bid award for the high school track resurfacing, and that's for American Athletic Courts. As you can see, the bids were very close. There is a base bid, and I identified the different components of the bid so that the board understood the alternatives that we put in there. The shooter extensions allow us to get a lot of the track events away from the softball field, so that those participants aren't as much at risk of getting hit with a baseball. The D-zone events modifications allows for more events to be taking place at the same time. And the Berlin blue track resurfacing allows for us to have the school color on the track rather than the red. So any one of those alternatives are, so the total for all of that would be $340,500. 10BUS, I'm asking the board to acknowledge receipt of the board secretary report, treasurer's school fund reports, and budget adjustments for the month of February 2019. 11BUS, I'm asking the board to approve the bills for the periods February 23rd through March 25th, 2019, in the amount of $5,695,553.87. 12 BUS was approved on March 14th. 13 BUS, I'm asking the board to approve additional related services, nursing services in the amount of $22,000, speech language services in the amount of $160,000, and physical therapy in the amount of $6,000. 14 BUS, I'm asking the board to approve the following school lunch prices. These have to be set at this time. In order for me, I have to put together a RFP for, since it's been 5 years since our initial contract with Pontonian. So these prices set in what I would put in the RFP as our lunch prices for next year. 15 BUS, I'd like the board to approve the agreement for participation in the coordinated transportation services with Union County Ed Services Commission for the 2019-20 school year. And they bill us an actual amount plus the 4% administration fee. And that's because they are starting now to establish routes and go out for bid for routes for next year. We have 2 special education and settlement agreements with 16 BUS for one student. It is a placement at the Cambridge School, and for the other student, it's a reimbursement for $500 for a tutor's reports. 17 BUS, we have change orders for the HVAC project. The HVAC project is substantially complete. There were a couple of areas left out in the original bid. We had a contingency of $125 in the bid. The changes amount to $148,897.84. I'm asking for an additional $30,000, some of which may be returned to our capital reserve, to be withdrawn to cover permits, and if there's any associated cost with that, to be withdrawn from capital reserve to cover the cost of finishing this project. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Saradaki.
And I'm sure there'll be questions.
Can I have a motion to accept the business functions as read? So moved. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions?
On the bids for the track,
Yes.
so the base bids seem very similar, but like the B-Zone and the Berlin Blue is sort of reverse. Is it, you feel good about the quality for the, since the price, there's not much difference? I think both bidders were very qualified bidders. Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, then, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I was saying aye, but I think I said it.
I accepted it. Business 11, just omitting that one word for mama, but otherwise it's not.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. And then we're on back to board policies. Anybody from the policy committee like to make the motion for the policies?
So moved.
Should we read through them again?
Yes.
Okay. Motion moved that the Board of Education approves the first reading of the following board policies. P2422, Health and Physical Education. P2425, Physical Education. P2431.3, Practice and Preseason Heat Acclimation for School-Sponsored Athletics and Extracurricular Activities. P2610, Educational Program Evaluation. P4219, commercial driver's license, controlled substance, and alcohol use testing. Policy and Regulation 5111, eligibility of resident, non-resident students. P5337, service animals. P5756, transgender students. Policy and Regulation 7440, school district security. P2415.06, unsafe school choice option. 246.8, special education, free and appropriate public education. R5530, substance abuse, policy and regulation. 5600, student discipline, code of conduct. Policy and regulation 5611, removal of students for firearms offenses. Policy and regulation 5612, assaults on district board of education members or employees. Policy and regulation 5613, removal of students for assaults with weapons offenses. Policy and regulation 8461, reporting violence, vandalism, harassment, and intimidation, bullying, alcohol, and other drug offenses. Can I have a second? Second. Thank you. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion for the first reading carries. New board business? Does anybody have any new board business? Okay, other board business, request to attend workshops, workshop reports, National Autism Awareness Month, 2 OBB. Would someone like to make the motion for the resolution?
Make the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Soriani. Go right ahead.
I move that the Board of Education adopt the following resolution. Whereas autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder that results in difficulties with communication and social interaction, as well as repetitive behaviors. Whereas autism can affect anyone regardless of race, ethnicity, or other factors. Whereas it is both a moral and fiscal imperative that services be made available that maximize the potential of each unique child, adult living with autism to contribute to the greatest extent possible to the society and economy of the United States. Whereas it is well established that early intervention can improve outcomes by significantly improving the cognitive, language, and adaptive skills of people with autism. Whereas a variety of physical, medical, and mental health issues may accompany autism, resulting in marked functional impairment in all activities of daily living. Whereas these conditions may include epilepsy, Down syndrome, Fragile X syndrome, gastrointestinal problems, immune system disorders, sleep disturbance, sensory integration dysfunction, and metabolic disorders. Whereas many individuals on the autism spectrum face co-occurring mental health challenges, including anxiety, obsessive compulsions, and depression. Whereas individuals living with autism are highly valued and deserve the highest level of dignity and acceptance by society. And now therefore be it resolved, April 2019 would be an appropriate month to designate as National Autism Awareness Month to increase public awareness of the need to support individuals with autism and the family members and medical professionals who care for individuals with autism. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education expresses support designating April 2019 as National Autism Awareness Month, recognizes and commends both individuals living with autism and the parents and relatives of those individuals for their sacrifice and dedication.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Good. Second, thank you, Ms. Williams. Any questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And abstaining. Motion carries. Thank you. 3OBB, approval of the 2019-2020 schedule of board meeting dates. I have a motion to accept the dates as listed on the next page. So, second. Thank you. Any discussion or comments? I like the way it's written out this way so that you can see the board meeting agenda setting and a regular public meeting this way. Okay, so if there's no questions, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. 4 OBD, Miss Avaccia LLP agreement. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Borup. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Clancy. Mrs. Borup, would you please read the motion?
No, sorry. I move that the Board of Education approves agreement with Segovia LLP to provide the auditing services for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019 at a cost of $52,100 at a 2.2% increase. This contract is awarded without competitive bidding as professional service under the provisions of the Public School Contracts Law.
Thank you, Mrs. Borup. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to approval of the minutes. Have a motion to approve the minutes that are listed here for February.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Anybody have to abstain?
I have to abstain from the 21st.
Thank you, Mrs. Bauer. Anybody else? Seeing no one, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, say aye. 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 The abstention is already noted, nobody saying no. The motion carries to accept the minutes. Okay. In accordance with Scotch Plains Fairwood Public Schools Bylaw 0164, 0165, the meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comments, a maximum of 2 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing the superintendent items, business functions, and other board business will be heard first. If time remains, speakers may address other matters. When you approach the podium, please state your name and the town in which you reside. Seeing no one, I'm going to close that portion of the meeting and move on to the remarks for the good of the order. Anyone?
Dr. Mast and I got to attend the district choral concert last night. That was outstanding. We had students from School 1, Evergreen, and Runner, as well as Park, Terrell, and High School.
Very nice.
And it's always exciting to see all of them come together to sing the final number.
I'm glad you were able to attend. We had something last night.
And we also had a shout out to Sasha Slocum, McGinn Elementary School principal, Mallory Banks, who is one of our SPF high school junior at SPFHS. They were both honored by Fanwood as Women of Vision. And so that happened on March 18th, I believe. And we're very proud that they had that recognition. And at the same time, Katie Lober as a third grader, got to be Mayor for the Day. So this was all good.
Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Hayes. That's lovely. So cute, third grade. Anybody else have anything to contribute? Okay, seeing no one, then we'll just discuss the upcoming meetings. Wednesday, April 3rd, PTA Council will have a budget presentation meeting at 9:30 in the morning. Wednesday, April 10th, a public budget presentation at 9:30 a.m. and then again at 7:30 p.m. here in the administration building. Thursday, April 11th, the open agenda meeting at 7:30. April 25th, also a Thursday, is our regular public meeting, and the budget adoption. And then May 9th and May 30th for our other Board of Ed meetings. If there's no other business to come before the board, then I ask for a motion for adjournment. So moved. Second. Okay, thank you. I'm sure there's no discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Any abstention? He's going to say no. Adjourned. Thank you.